Hey, welcome back to the Financial Beast podcast. I am your host, your BFFF, best financial friend forever, Eric Miller. And in the latest episode, it was another Between Two Erics, me and my other advisor in our office, one of five, Eric Gersch. And today we attacked a topic that I think is really, really important. It's called the wage replacement ratio. Now, this is a technical financial term, but basically it indicates how much money are you going to need to have coming in to basically replace about, a percentage of what you're making right now. We go through some of the myths of this number. And most importantly, how do you handle it so that you never have to worry about running out of money or not having enough? So I think you're going to enjoy it. I know that I did. And as always, please like, share, subscribe our podcast out so we can get the word out to as many people as possible about what we're doing here. And look, if you're in some need of help, I definitely want to make sure that I direct you to our website. Go to econologics.com. That's ECONOLOGICS. And if you are in need of financial help and you own your own practice, then we certainly have all the tools there. So make sure that you schedule an intro call, download something so that we can reach out and help you. So enjoy the podcast. I'll see you guys on the next one. Welcome back. We have a pretty interesting financial topic to talk about today. Don't you think?
Yeah, I do.
Okay,
I think it pertains. Great. It's something that every retiree or hopeful retiree thinks about.
Way to bring the energy right away on that. I appreciate that.
I'm waking up. You got to spill the first thing in the day,
It's good. Way to really just show the enthusiasm for everyone that would be listening to this. Appreciate that.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to talk today about a financial term called the wage replacement ratio. Wage replacement ratio, and this is a technical term that is used by people in the financial, mostly in the retirement industry. And it is what they base a lot of retirement planning on in terms of how much people need to be able to retire. So I have a more formal definition for it.
Yeah, let's hear it.
If everyone wants to see it. Okay. So let me just bring it up here and let's see if this works or not. Wage replacement ratio. Can you see?
I can.
Okay. So wage replacement ratio, as defined by Investopedia, which of course never lies, is a replacement rate is the percentage of a worker's pre-retirement income that is paid out by a pension program after the worker retires. I'm going to skip down. More generally, a retirement replacement rate is the percentage of a person's pre-retirement income that will be needed for the person to maintain the desired standard of living after retiring. Got that one?
Got it.
Okay. I'm going to go down. It says replace this. This just startled me to no end. Replacement rates are commonly mentioned in the debate over U.S. Social Security. Under Social Security law, replacement rates should target about 40% of the replacement rate of for the average retiree. Did you read that, Gersh? Am I reading that wrong?
I see it. I'm looking at it.
Can you believe that?
I think what it's saying, I don't think it's saying that retirees should aim to replace 40%. I think it's saying that that retirees on average should expect Social Security to replace 40%.
I don't think that's what it's saying, Gersh.
I don't know. Let me read it again.
As some workers have retirement plans or benefits beyond, so this replacement rate may be only be one portion of the funds available at retirement.
Yeah, but read this. Under Social Security law, replacement rates should target about 40% of the replacement rate for the average retiree. Social Security is meant to replace 40% of the average retiree's income.
That's crazy. That is crazy how much that is. But if you go down, income replacement rates vary from individual to individual. The amount requires analysis of the standard of living of the person wishes to maintain and understand of the costs required to maintain that standard. For example, if two employees earn the same annual pay of $100,000, but one requires $45,000 and the other $60,000, the replacement rates for those individuals would be 45% and 60%.
Yep.
Okay. So let's start right now with this nonsense. So
educate me.
Well, no, I mean, here's basically this is retirement planning 101 right now. I would say 90.
No, I know. I'm just giving you a hard time.
90% of advisors out there, okay, are pushing to their clients that if your target should be to save. Now, I'll be honest. I've never heard anyone say you only need to have 40% of your pre-retirement income, but the numbers generally are, I guess, between 60 and 80%, somewhere around there.
That's what I was going to say.
Of your pre-retirement income. Okay. Problems with that? Tell me.
I mean, logically, I could see you needing a little bit less, not 20 to 40%. Because you would lose, the one expense that you would lose, in all fairness, is savings, right? If I'm saving 10% of my income, once I'm retired, I don't need to do that. So now I can live off 90% and keep the same exact standard of living.
Okay.
But so outside of that.
So
hold
basic. All right.
I was going to say, outside of savings, I can't really think of any other expenses that would drop off. Would, I can't.
Or that will get replaced by some other expense.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you may not have the same expenses for kids, and you may not have the same expenses for, school or whatever else, but it's going to get replaced by some other expense because an organization, a household, whatever it is going to spend everything that it makes and then some. Doesn't matter what it is. So people will invent something to spend the money on. That is for sure.
And you have every day off. So you're going to find new hobbies. You're going to find, everything costs money.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was just talking to a client of ours yesterday, and, we're trying to match what their income was when they were working, when they owned their practice, to what they have right now. And, it's the same thing. I mean, it's just different expenses. Now it's a second home, or maybe it's, traveling to, abroad or whatever it is. I mean, they're just going to get replaced. I mean, you don't want your quality of life to go down. But that's the target right now. It's basically saying that. It's basically saying that 60 to 80% is what your target should be. And, I guess when you look at that, you're just like, all right, so if I'm making, now, is that of just your wage, or is that of your total amount of compensation? Because again, we're talking that was based for people that just get a set wage, correct?
Yeah, like a W-2 employee.
Okay. So does that doesn't consider ownership in a business when you get profit distributions, but that's all part of your pay too.
I think it does.
Okay. Because most of the owners that we work with spend not only the salary that they pay from the practice, but also the profit distributions that they
take. Of course.
So your tax rate's not going to be as high in retirement, allegedly. We'll see. They're just proposing now.
Yeah, we'll see about that one.
I just see right now they're proposing to go back up to 40%, for high income people. But
I think we should go to 50.
I'm sure you do. Versus of that generation, whatever that you're a millennial, right?
I'm just trying to
You basically believe that like all property should be owned by the government, right? That's great.
I'm just pouring gas on the fire at 9:30 on a Thursday morning.
I can't wait till some of your clients find out that you're an actual closet communist. And it's going to be awesome.
No, I'm just messing with you. I'm messing with you.
Okay, let's go back to the wage replacement ratio if we can. All right.
Yes,
so
yes.
the problem, so we found basically, I think there's three problems with it. Number one, nobody wants to live on less income than what they're living on right now. I don't care what you say. I don't think anyone would want to live on less income than what they're living on right now. And with the inflation rate going up at whatever percentage is going to go up, your purchasing power is going to continue to go down. So your target cannot be to save 60 to 80% of your current wage or current income as a target. That's number one. Number two, I don't think that takes into maybe it does take into consideration the tax rate, but I don't think so. And that's going to be another issue, is that if taxes do go up, that's going to eat into that, and the inflation rate as well. And also it doesn't take into consideration how the person is invested with all of their money as well. Because you could be in a scenario where all of a sudden, if you do what 90% of advisors do, which is have 90% of their clients in marketable securities, then you take the risk of market loss, and you have to adjust how much you're taking out if you want to make sure that the money lasts for as long as you have. So it's got problems all over the place. So I don't think that if you're really looking at the best interest of a client, you should set their target for 60 to 80% of their current income as their quote unquote retirement amount. All right.
No, it should be 100%.
Yeah. We
can agree.
I would say that it would at least be 100%.
We can agree.
Yeah. So that being said, what do you think in terms of, what do you think proper retirement planning should consist of? Where does it start?
So I think it starts, number one, figuring out how much you really need to retire on.
Yeah.
And desire to retire on. Right?
Yeah.
Which is generally going to be about 100% of what you're making right now, because I am in agreement, whatever you make, you're going to spend in one form or another. So you shouldn't be targeting to retire on less than what you're making. I think from there, at least the way I do it, from there I start looking at income streams.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say, for sake of ease, that someone needs $100,000 a year to retire. Well, I work backwards. Your spouse has a pension, let's say,
mm-hmm.
that's going to be 25. Okay. Now we need 75. You own a clinic building and you're going to collect $20,000 a year
mm-hmm.
in rental income. All right. Now you need 55. Social Security is going to be another 30,000. Okay. Now you need 25.
Mm-hmm.
So 25,000 is what we need to generate from your investments.
Mm-hmm. Well, a portion of your investments, because 2 of those 3 were investments. Your clinic building is an investment, right?
Yeah, I guess I should clarify.
Yeah.
Your usual investments, your stocks, your bonds, your life insurance, your annuities,
I get what
your money and account investments.
I get what you're saying right there. Okay. Yeah. So we're starting. So, and we have a term for this. We call it the DIMI, the desired monthly minimum income. So when we're doing retirement planning for clients, first thing that we're going to do is not take a look at their wage replacement ratio. We're going to ask them, hey, what is your desired amount of income that you're going to want to be able to transition out of the practice and basically match pretty close to the amount of income that you're making right now. Safe?
Yep.
Okay.
Safe.
So and now we do that for a number of reasons, but let's say that, and what's the number you get from most people? on that number? I know it varies based upon the size of their practice.
I would say on average 20,000 a month.
Yeah, I was going to say it goes between
about 240 a year.
Yeah, it goes between 20,000 and 40,000 on some people. Okay, so I'm going to take the higher one. I'm going to take the 40,000, right? Because that's a big number. 40,000 a month. Now the goal
480 a year.
Yeah, so the goal would be to not have to dip into your principal on most of these investments that you have, correct? So our target is so that people aren't necessarily having to dip into the principal of their investments to be able to satisfy their DIMI. Okay, that's a very important distinction, because most of the time when you're doing retirement planning, most people are going to say, hey, we're going to start taking money out of your investments, of course, and you're not putting it back in. So it's going to decline. You're going to start seeing your values go down because of that, because you're taking more than what it's actually earning in most cases.
Yep.
Okay. So you have the threat there of outliving your money. Now, okay, we already argued about the safe withdrawal rate and that. Yeah. I get that. So, but I mean, do you even need to take the risk? Not really. Not if you have the right amount of income targeted so that it comes in just like clockwork every single month. So we're taking 480,000 as the amount of income that someone's going to need. Great. Now I got the number. So now working backwards, how much do we need in total assets to be able to generate $480,000 a year? You know the number?
4.8 mil.
You sure? Gersch, I think sometimes you in the morning, your head doesn't get on straight. 480,000.
No, that would be double.
It's 9.6.
9.6. Yeah. I had it. I was thinking 20,000 a month because I don't know.
Yeah, because you do that all the time. So 9.6 million. That's how much you would need in total assets. Now, does that mean that that's how much you need in retirement savings to be able to do that? No, because you had just mentioned that it's not. Most of your income is not going to come from just your 401ks and IRAs. It's the 9.6 in total assets is how much you need in is represented in all the assets that you own in your household. So
it's basically everything besides the house you live in.
Correct. So what is that comprised of then?
That would include, like you said, it would include your 401ks and whatnot, but it would also include your net business value.
Yep.
So what it's worth after taxes and debt.
Yep.
It would include any, if you own the practice building or you own any rental properties or any real estate that you're not living in.
Correct.
Yeah. It would include, it could even include your bank accounts.
Yeah, it can include all of that. And we can assign a value to like Social Security or a pension, because if someone's got a pension coming in, that's, let's just say it's $50,000 a year. So how much value would you associate with that?
That's worth, that's $1 million.
That's $1 million, right? So that's $1 million. That's part of your, it's not technically part of your net worth, but when you do like an equivalent of that amount, it's worth that much to you. So if you got a side,
because if you want to generate 50,000 a year elsewhere in other investments, you're going to need about $1 million put away. Yeah. So its wealth equivalent is $1 million.
Yeah. So that's $5. So that'd be exactly. So we're not telling people that you have to have $9.6 million of just money sitting in the bank. It's going to be total value of all of your household assets. And then I just need to make sure that all of them on average, we're at least earning a 5% rate of return on those.
Yep.
And some are going to earn more. Your real estate probably is going to earn 10 to 12%. And maybe we have, money sitting in treasury bills or municipal bonds that are only earning, 4 or 5%. and, say that you have some other investments that are earning, 15, 8, 10, whatever it is. But if we average that amount, then we should be able to satisfy that number.
Yeah. We're just targeting an overall average rate of return of 5%.
Yeah. So, but again, when we talk with most people, what are they concerned about? They're just looking at their retirement assets and they're saying, what's my rate of return on these? As opposed to, what am I getting from my real estate? What am I getting from, what's my business value? What am I going to net on that? So it's really important that if we're setting the right target, number one is looking at the desired income. Number two, determining how much we need in total assets to be able to satisfy that number. And then what is the gap? So we'll take an example. So I was working with a client and we determined that they wanted the $20,000 a month or $240 a year. So their what do we call it? Their desired income was 20,000. They needed 4.8 million in total assets.
Correct.
After adding up all of their assets that would generate the income, we had 3.4 million. So what? They have a wealth gap.
Yeah, 1.4.
1.4. Okay. So now, and they got 7 years before they want to retire.
So they need to put away about 200K a year.
Not only, but they don't need to do all of that, but they also.
it would be less when you factor in compound interest.
Well,
but just dollar for dollar.
That, but they'd also just need to increase the value of their practice to minimize.
Of course.
Minimize that. Because the value of your practice is going to go up much faster than anything else, or it could.
Yeah.
So it could. So, we look at that and say, look, if you increase your profit over the next 7 years by, let's say $100,000 in total profit, and you sell for a 6 multiple, that's another 600,000 in value that you're going to get.
Yep.
Add that to taking 10% of the practice revenue, and it's not hard to hit your number. Like when people say we have a wealth gap of $1.4 million, they equate that to, oh my God, I got to save $1.4 million. And it's like, no.
I mean, that example makes it so simple for clients who are listening, because it's very, very true. Each dollar you increase the profit in your practice could be anywhere from a 4 to a 1,200% return.
Say that again. Every dollar of profit in your practice can increase.
Every additional dollar of profit in your practice is going to give you a 400 to 1,200% return.
That's amazing.
Because most practices that sell are going to sell somewhere between a 4 and a 12 multiple.
Yeah. Depending
obviously size, industry, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
We don't got to get into that. But even on the low end,
where
else are you going to earn 400% in a couple of years?
That is the message that we try to get across to people that own a business or a practice, is that the quickest way to increase your wealth is not, looking at side hustles or, real estate is a slow game. It really is.
Yep.
It takes time. And it's a place, obviously you want to park money and preserve assets and if you know what you're doing. But if you really want to see your net worth increase, it's going to be increase the profit margins of your business, especially in the industries that we cater to, because these multiples are, I would say on average right now, I mean, I haven't seen most of the people that we've seen sell. I haven't seen maybe lower than a 5 multiple, maybe 5 or 6 here recently. It's been,
I agree.
It's been pretty good. And, it got as high as like 17 or 18 in some cases, which is probably not.
It was ridiculous for a couple of years there.
Which is probably not going to happen again. But I think.
No, those days have sailed.
The point is that when you're figuring out your retirement income streams and how much you're going to need, it is good to start with what is your desired monthly income, DIMI.
Yep.
We call it DIMI. your desired monthly income. That is the target that you should be going for. And it's got to be enough to be able to replace 100% of what you're making right now. Now, in all fairness, it's not easy to do at all, especially if you have.
No, it takes hard work.
Yeah, especially if you have a practice that's really profitable. It's kind of hard to like match the amount of income that you make from that. But I would say this: your life does change, because you don't have the enormous tax burden that you do as an owner when you after you sell the practice.
True.
Okay. And so you don't necessarily have that big expense, and you're not taking, how we do it in our system is, we have you try to save 10% of your practice revenue, which usually equates to about 30% of your take home pay compensation, and we're probably not going to need to do that anymore.
No. I mean, you're assuming you sell the practice, obviously you're going to lose access to the cash flow of the practice. So saving 10% off the top is impossible.
Yeah. It's
at that point.
Yeah, you can't do that, but it needs to be enough to replace that. Cause I've seen in most cases, people that have sold their practices, they don't want their lifestyle to go backwards. And for the most part, they don't really have to, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part about what we get to do, is that I can map out. We did this yesterday. I just mapped out with someone, looked at all of their equity that they're going to have when their sale recaps at some point, the real estate, they have insurance-based products, they got stocks and bonds, they got private placements, they got it all across the gambit. And it was like $480,000. And then we add in Social Security, and it was just like, I can't believe it. I feel like I'm making more money. Right. And this is a phenomenon that you're going to see too. You're going to feel richer after you transition out, because you don't have some of the big expenses. And I've heard that from many people that have said, wow, I actually feel like I have more money, even though technically I'm making the same or even a little bit less, but I feel like I have more money. I don't know if
they do. And I've explained that to a lot of clients as well, is like, when most of our clients are S corps,
mm-hmm.
so the profit of the practice flows onto their personal return.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's just say your salary is $100K and your profit is $300, right? So $400,000 of total income. You're not living off $400 of income, because in that profit, you have to pay debt. Debt's paid with after-tax money. You have your savings. That's after-tax money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what we do, your 10%. You have money that sits in the business checking as working capital. So somebody who's showing a pre-retirement taxable income of $400K, if they're a practice owner, they're not living off $400K. They're probably living off $250.
Yeah.
So if you're able to replace close to that $400K, they are actually living off of more.
Yes.
No doubt.
That's a good point.
So
that is actually a pretty good point. We do have to factor that in when we're coming up with that number, the fact that the tax amount that they have to pay on that, and and the savings rate that we're having them put in, which is quite a bit more than what I think most people would tell them to do.
Yeah.
That is for sure.
So
okay. Anything else on the wage replacement ratio we should cover? I mean, I know you're all.
No,
I know you're all about it. I mean, I know that you're just like 50%. That's enough.
No,
but
no, it is not.
I think, So if you own your practice, you got to make sure that you're a little different than the average worker, so to speak, and you cannot calculate that amount the same that is taught to almost everyone. And again, we're not pulling this out of our butt. I mean, this is right out of the CFP booklet right here that we talk about, wage replacement ratio. And this is the target that most of these things have. So, okay, good. All right. Well, I thought that was pretty awesome. And we have another topic coming up that'll be even more interesting. I'm not quite sure what it is yet, but that's my teaser.
But it'll be better.
But it'll be better than what we talked about today.
Yep.
So, all right, we'll see you guys on the next podcast.